Hello, hello. Are we here? Facebook seems frozen. Oh, there we go. I'm staring at myself. Woo! Wix on, Wix off. All right, cool. We're live. There's just an awkward moment where I click the button and Facebook just freezes for anywhere from like 10 to 15 seconds. We are back, folks. Weekly Q&A. You guys bring awesome questions every week. I love actually. One of the coolest things for me, by the way, is seeing your questions evolve over week to week. And I see, somebody is saying, "How can I get any client at all?" And then they have a few clients, and then they, start having like delivery issues, and then people start having hiring issues, and it's really cool for me to see your problems get better and better. By the way, for those of you guys who are interested, we got a free trial of the mastermind. It's really, really badass. I mean, we're basically doing four things. We're getting clients, we're systematizing delivery, we're building people, and then we're creating wow experiences for clients. And once you have that in place, you basically have a license to print money and keep people really happy about that fact. And so if you're interested in that, give me a holler. I'll send you a video with some details. As we don't do sales calls. What's up, Brother Miro? So let's get into the questions. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Finn proudly brings to you our weekly Q&A. All right, David's on deck first, or at the plate, I should say. David says, I made a survey in a Facebook group with 14,000 roofers in it. I asked them what their biggest problem was, finding new customers versus finding employees. Around 95% answered that finding employees was their current bottleneck. Not a single one said they're in need of leads or customers. No, I am asking myself if selling leads to roofing companies makes any sense at all. What's your take on this? So, David, I see Brother Miro hanging out. So here's the deal, David. Marketers will tell you sell leads anyway, and I think they're all dead wrong. See, if you've never hired any before, like most people don't realize that hiring people is also a marketing process. You got to write an ad that speaks to your ideal person. You got to put it somewhere where your ideal prospects would go. You got to like recruit them inwards. You got to make them feel wanted. You got to like follow up with them. You got to have like a system for training and onboarding and all those things. And it's the same thing as agency work in so many ways. So to me, it would be crazy to try and sell people leads that are telling you we don't need leads. Now, having said that, the one caveat I would say is if you're asking in a group, they may be aware that if they say, I need leads, they'll get pounced on by marketers. But having said that, it's like real estate, for example, goes through ebb and flow. So there's periods of time where if you have a house for sale, it sells like that. But it's hard to get houses for sale. Then there's times where it's the opposite, right? Like where there's a gazillion houses for sale and it's hard to find a buyer. There's lots of ebb and flow to that business. So general contracting is like that. Like there's peak seasons for it. And so it sounds like everybody right now is trying to find good people. So what I would say is if you're the person who builds, especially like some kind of add-on offer, intro first date that helps them attract new people where you've already pre-written the ads and help them screen people and help them onboard their new employees and help them set them up to stay and all that, you're going to have a really, really easy time. So use that information. Like we're in the business of helping clients solve problems. We're not in the business of, hey, I sell Facebook ads, so I'm going to force Facebook ads down your throat because that's what I know how to do. Like help these people solve their real business problems and you'll get paid a lot more money than marketers who are just looking to generate leads. That's my take on that. Tamusin, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. What CRM are you guys using to keep up with your own leads? Tamusin, you're going to hate my answer because so just to give you a little bit about like what I'm dealing with personally. So since about 2007, I've learned 10 to 20 new pieces of software every year for like 14, 15 years. So I'm so sick of learning new software that we're trying to cut out more and more software and tools out of our agency and like run it so basic. So that's part of my motivation is like I'm just sick of tools. Having said that, a lot of people in our groups really love Go High Level and use that exclusively for follow-up. My thing is really, really simple. It's like it's more important to me what you do in those follow-ups than what tool you use. And I'll tell you what's really helped us is most people don't think of multi-channel follow-up. They think if I just keep following up by email because it's automated and it's easy, that's best. But I'll tell you, I like one place where you can follow up with them drip fed automatically. So I use just email and Aweber for like getting them to raise their hand and tell me they're ready. And then it's a really simple CRM where we just have a couple of texts and I send a video. But I also like having at least one place where they can binge watch you. So I have both a YouTube channel for this and for the agency mentorship, and I also have a YouTube channel for my lawyer peeps, which I haven't updated in quite a while. But it gives people a place where they can binge watch you and watch testimonials and all those things. So I like to have one slow over time and one where they can like binge watch 100 things of you. And I find that's the best CRM that I've come up with in a long, long time. I shouldn't say it's like the best in terms of like organizing data and seeing who's interested, but it's the best at like bringing people to you pre-sold in an easy way where they're, they know they want to work with you. Because if they can watch 100 videos of you, they know in those 100 videos whether or not they want to work with you or not. And so it does a lot of the pre-screening for you. And so I don't have as many like things to follow up with and dear sir, did you see my proposal? So that's how we're doing it. One drip feed, one kind of like binge watch place. And you can use whatever tools you like to use those the most. Like I could do that in a Facebook group, but it's really up to you. But that's the overall philosophy of it. Daryl, who's doing performance-based bonuses for their team? It's something I'm thinking about doing and trying to figure out how to structure. Daryl, performances are like giving people bonuses or kind of rewarding the things you want in a company, I think is a must, but I'll tell you where most people screw it up is they think rewarding people is giving them extra money, and it's because you are a marketer, like for you got in business so you could have your own money and your own freedom. Most employees, by the way, the two biggest complaints they have is my boss is an asshole and no one appreciates me. So the two biggest ways you can reward people are being cool to them and like just letting them know intentionally they're appreciated and that like they're cool and they're wanted. So that goes a long, long way between rewarding people. Now, having said that, the only time I would actually have like a financially reward-based structure, salespeople. Salespeople are almost always done on that. And the best way to test salespeople, if you're doing it, is give them 5 or 10 of your phone calls and just see how they handle it. And I'm looking for two things on those calls. I'm looking for one, can they close? Obviously, if they don't make deals happen, then it's, you're not really going to get anywhere. But the second thing, I also want them to close those deals ethically, because sometimes salespeople will say whatever the fuck they need to say to make a sale, and then it's hard from a delivery perspective because they promise something that cannot realistically be fulfilled. And so you get put in these situations where you just get refunds. So it's important to me, those two things. Are they selling people and are they doing it ethically? But having said that, you should be thinking about rewarding all your people. So like to me, I just look at like giving them a paycheck is a baseline. That's where employees start, or working together starts. So then I'm thinking about above and beyond that. And I'll give you like simple examples. So one of the people I'm about to pay after this call is one of my virtual assistants named Mark. He likes to read a lot. He posts pictures on his Facebook of books. So I buy him a book every couple of weeks. I'm like, hey, you buy whatever you want. I'll just pay for the books. I will feed that because I appreciate all the work you're doing. That keeps employees happier way longer than a raise of how much a book would buy, because you took the time to notice who they are. So there's a deeper philosophy going on. But yes, you should performance-based people, but not in the way you think, because most people are not like all cash-oriented like we are. Because for us it represents freedom. So the best way you can do that, appreciate them, give them little cool gifts to let them know, and that kind of performance structure will keep people indefinitely forever. They'll love working for you. Paula, question: when increasing the amount of your ad spend, what is the rule of thumb that you follow? I have always thought, don't touch it while it is in the learning phase, and then it goes into a learning limited. You can increase your budget on ads that are converting, but only at 20% of the time. So on a $20 per day, 24, then 28.80. Interested to hear what others do. Paula, I'm of the opinion personally, I'm not saying none of that stuff is not useful, but I think that's more bad advice than good advice. Is like only increase it 20% per day and slow. I've had it where I've taken ads that I was spending like, I don't know, 30 or 40 bucks a day and just put a 0 on it and have them kept working at the rates they're doing. So like clearly you can go faster than the 20% everybody tells you. And I'll tell you, because you're talking specifically about Facebook ads. Facebook ads, to me, too many people think about the bells and whistles, like how much you can up to spend and trying to get the algorithm to learn. And I'm not saying those things aren't useful, but I'll tell you, you have way more success if you think about the human on the other side of the ad and being useful to them. So there's 4 things that I look for in a Facebook ad. Who are we showing ads to? In other words, you're targeting. Sorry, I'm just closing a little thing here. So who are you showing ads to? What are you offering those people? You're like message or copy to deliver that, and then what image? If you focus on those 4 things and think about how the other person on the ad will respond, you'll have far more success than playing with targeting. Because I see a lot of times people get way too hung up in the Facebook tech, and what ends up happening is they have like a gazillion mediocre split tests, and they would have been far better served just coming up with one really great written offer and a great image and just running one variation of a test. And I actually learned this from a guy years ago named Brad's Ads, and he talked about how everybody says you got to split test and you got to do all these things, and I was doing all those things, and it was just made Facebook so much work for me, and I hated it. Even like just managing people was work, because they'd say, we've tried all those image variations you mentioned. What else do you want us to try? And so I was always having to like try these things, and now I write one ad. I think about what would be my best targeting. I think about what would be my best offer, my best copy, and my best image. We got a screaming child coming in here. My Zelda bees running through here. All good. So my advice would be nail those 4 things. And so I got distracted from the child, but nail those 4 things and worry less about how much you can increase it, or should I use, this tool or that tool, and you'll find that ads will work better in general. So you can get by with just doing one thing, and that's what we do. Rachel, if a company has a marketing director, would you still reach out to them? Cold outreach, that is. In other words, would they say they already have their marketing taken care of? No need for marketing agency. Any experience with this? I mean, I am cold reaching out, though I wanted to find out from any that has reached out. Rachel, you can get in with companies that have marketing agencies or marketing directors or like teams of marketing people. Where I'll tell you where most people screw it up is if you're trying to, and this comes down to a deeper philosophy, by the way, are you trying to replace what they already have in-house, or are you trying to add on to their existing infrastructure? So let's just say, for example, to give you an example of what I mean, if somebody's already running Facebook ads and you come in and say, hey, I bet you a messenger bot and integrating it with Zapier so that you could like collect people's information seamlessly and sending them to a landing page would improve your results even more. Would you like me to do that and set up a lead follow-up? That adds on, and they may say yes. So in general, by the way, if you're selling an offer where they have to replace somebody, whether they're in-house or like say SEO is an example replacement offer. They have to replace you or their existing company rather. They have to replace somebody to bring you in. It's going to be way easier in general to sell something that adds on to what they're doing. So for me, like one of my go-tos, by the way, is direct mail, because nobody fucking does direct mail. So almost always when I show up and I say, hey, can I manage your direct mail for you? It's like it's an add-on. And so they love it because it's really, really not something they were ever planning on doing, but they see the value out of it. So that's the general rule, marketing director or not. If you're showing up trying to replace somebody, you're going to have a hard time because they have to fire somebody to hire you. But if you're just adding on to what they're doing and it complements their existing system, then you'll have you'll get almost no pushback on the yes. So I hope that's helpful to you, Rachel. I hear my youngest crying in the next room. Quick question. Facebook has been trigger happy lately and suspending ad accounts at whim. Come here, honeybee. What contingency plans do you put in place in case your ad account is suspended? Do you have multiple accounts under employees, friends, or family? Listen, this question from Ryan is, when that's happening, you're thinking about way too much about being married to Facebook and their ad platform. What I would say is the principles never change. Like if Facebook gets miserable, move over to YouTube. What you're always trying to do, by the way, is always is you want to test your offer as soon as possible and test whether you like working with that market or not. And once you know for sure your stuff converts and that you like the people you're getting, build an audience. And always, it doesn't matter whether it's Facebook traffic, you want to be converting that to your own email list, your own assets, your own SMS list, your own social media followings that follow you from place to place. Like you want to have like a real long-term audience. So that's what you're always trying to do, is bring long-term customers out of Facebook, out of YouTube. It doesn't matter. So if you get too married to Facebook, then you have to always find tools and tricks around them. But if you understand it's just you building your audience, you can go anywhere and do it. So that's my first thing is. Secondly, there's a couple of people. There's a guy actually on my list that I can recommend, that his name is Travis. He sells business managers that have been around for a while. So if you're interested in that, I would have you guys connect, because that's probably the best thing. I mean, you can definitely do it employees, friends, and families, but it's a real pain in the ass to constantly be creating new ad accounts. I'm on my 6th, by the way, number 6 on the ad account. I need 2 hands for how many I've got banned. It's a pain in the ass, but that's part of the reason we've moved over to YouTube and we're doing other like organic things, because you don't want to have a Facebook ad be able to put you out of business, or a Facebook algorithm. Because I'll tell you, I learned this years ago. I was doing all this SEO, and it was like SEO, I was 100% fully invested, all eggs in the SEO basket. And then what ended up happening is a friend of mine, an algorithm came up, an update, and they lost all their number 1 rankings. They were running a service to generate leads for limo companies in Las Vegas, and they dominated the search engines, and they were reselling all these leads to limo companies, and then one day Google kicked them out, and they lost $1 million a year business overnight. And they never recovered from it, by the way. They had $12 million a year one day, out of business the next. And that's what happens when you're 100% dependent on one platform. And I've seen that happen over the years. It's no different. If you put all the eggs in the Facebook basket, it's like it's a dangerous place to be. So that's why you need to like kind of learn how to do this at least one other place, and then have a backup for your stuff. So yes, I am saying you should have backup accounts, but even before that, make sure you have like a backup strategy. David. Question, has anyone experienced audience fatigue when marketing on Facebook? If so, how do you go about getting things moving again? I advertise in the weight loss industry, and one of my clients is just not getting conversions anymore. I ran the same offers while updating ad creatives and landing pages for the past several years, and results slowly but surely got better and better. This spring was absolutely phenomenal, but I was spending about $300 a day on ad spend for this client. We received a ton of conversions, but then it just dropped off with no results. It seems that's either due to oversaturating our targeted city by spending too much, or it's iOS 14. But my other clients that I advertise for in this field are doing pretty well. Any insight or help I can receive on how to pick things up again would be greatly appreciated. Thanks in advance. Okay, David, I got a couple ideas for you on this. First one, by the way, is, yes, I know iOS is a pain in the ass and like screwing a lot of people up, but in your case, like it sounds way, way more just like, and this will happen to everyone, by the way, if you run an offer successfully, is that too many people have seen it, and it stopped working because everybody who is interested in it has seen it already, and now it's gone from this new and exciting thing to, I've heard that before. And when you cross over into I've heard that before, this is what happens. And this happens 100% of the time with 100% of offers. Blue, falls off a cliff. So it's tempting to want to believe that it's the tech that's throwing you for a loop and the targeting, but it's probably not the tech and the targeting. It's probably just what you said. You've probably reached a point of oversaturation, especially if you've been running it to an audience for like 2 years or 3 years. So I'll tell you the easiest way to revive something new is to make specialized versions of the same product. And this is a very, very little known strategy, but let's say, for example, you mentioned weight loss. Like you could do a weight loss special version, a niche edition for like moms who just had a second child. And you could do another one for people who are getting married and want to fit in that wedding dress. And you could do another niche version for, over 40 or something like that, like dads over 40, right? So if you can slice and dice it like that, you can take an old offer and make it new. Second thing is, this is the deeper thing. If you've got all those clients you've picked up and you've been spending $300 a day, the real opportunity is not in the front end of selling more of that. It's in the back end. It's reselling all the customers new upsells, additions, cross sells, other things that benefit, adding more value and use to your life. That's the hidden opportunity. And that's, by the way, the easy money. So if you get too laser focused on the front end, you miss the gold that you've created on the back end. So that would be my other piece, is like, help your client make sales. They want sales. They don't want new sales from Facebook. Old money pays just as well as new money, and old money is consistently easier, faster, and works better. So you've built something like a real asset, which is a list of customers. Like, use that real asset, and if you're not going to use it, message me, and I'll at least, if I can't do it myself, I'll get you somebody in our group who can upsell those people a whole bunch of other options, because you're like I said, you're missing the real gold. But this is, and then the last thing I'll just say is, this is why the offer making skill is so important to develop, because no matter how good you are at this, like, offers just die over time. Like, we operate in a market that's not static. Like, there's a group of people, and then there's always like copycats. Like, for example, like I ran, for example, a webinar for years in the lawyer space that was like the 7 secrets of the world's most successful attorneys, and I had another like really close one, the 7 secrets of 7-figure law practices. And what I found was, after doing this like a couple of years, I ran at it a couple of years and was crushing it. And then after a couple of years, I had like maybe 7 to 10 people copy me, like almost verbatim. And they missed the deeper level strategy, but that's like a totally different discussion. But at the end of the day, my stuff stops working when 10 other people are saying the same thing as me, right? So what was once unique is no longer unique. And that happens with every market and every offer in every way. Is, eventually, if you're Coke in your little niche, in your little tiny sub niche, you'll be Coke for a while, but then sooner or later Pepsi will come out, and so will Sprite, and so will all these competitors, Mr. Pibb, and then you got to reinvent again. So that's why that skill, I'm so big on it. So I hope that's helpful to you. Alice, suggestions to reduce average CPC for Facebook or Instagram ads. Alice, I'm going to answer your question directly first, and then I'm going to tell you that it's the wrong question and what you should be focused on instead. That doesn't mean you're doing it wrong, by the way. I think there's a more productive focus for you to do. So Facebook ads, Instagram ads, like I said earlier, they're 4 things. People get way too caught up in the tech and the minutia and the details. Thing number 1, who are you targeting? Who are you showing ads to? Are they buyers? Thing number 2, what are you actually offering these people? The easier it is to say yes to that offer, the more it's going to work. Image, what are you doing to pull their attention in, grab them? Copy, what are you saying? Those 4 things. Think about those 4 things. You'll be a whiz at running Facebook and Instagram ads. Now, having said that, the way to reduce your cost is to test those 4 variables one at a time. Test the targeting, test the offer, test the image, test the message. So anyway, that's how you reduce CPC. You just one by one test each one of those things. If you can make just a 10-20% improvement in each one, you'll cut your ad cost in half collectively. Now, having said that, trying to reduce your front end cost is always a losing game in the long run. This is the part I mean where it's the wrong focus. And I'll tell you why. Because what happens to every ad platform in existence? Over time, the costs start here, and then they go there, and then they go there, and then they go up and up and up and up. So I have friends who started in Google AdWords when it was 5 cents a click, and now those same keywords are like $45 a click. And if they're trying to get their ad costs down, you're going to have a hard time doing it, because next year it'll be $55 a click, and then it'll be $75, right? Like, it's just going to keep going up. So trying to get your costs down over the long haul is always a losing play. What you want to be thinking about is, how can I keep people longer? How can I add value and upsell them things? Because what ends up happening is your customer value goes up over time, and then what ends up happening is you can pay more for those leads. So I'll give you a real simple example. Let's say you got a $1,000 a month service, okay, and you're a typical average agency, you're going to keep them 3 to 4 months, which means you're going to make between $3,000 to $4,000. And I know you may charge differently than $1,000, but I just wanted to pick an easy number for the sake of the example. Now, we have people in our mastermind, and this is what we work towards, is at least keeping clients 2 years, 24 months. So at $1,000 a month, that's $24,000. Now, I want you to think too, imagine you upsold them something else along the way for another $1,000, and you got, let's say you only got them on the upsell for a year, but that's $36,000. Now, let's imagine you're competing in the same market head-to-head. One person is getting $3,000, maybe $4,000, and one person is getting $36,000 per client. If I'm the one making $36,000 a client, I can put you out of business by spending $4,001 to get a client. And you will not be able to compete with me. In fact, I could probably very easily talk you into becoming my affiliate and just send it. Why struggle when you could just send the traffic to me and I'll manage them and take care of them? So that's the power of having a stronger back end, is it actually makes you way more powerful on the front end. So if it feels like there's somebody in your market who's spending way too much like front end money, it's almost always because they have a better back end than you. And I used to see this a lot in the lawyer space, is I would see guys who said, I can't afford to be on TV. Like, I don't understand how these guys spend millions of dollars, like they just have a bigger budget. And then I would consult with the guys spending millions of dollars, and they would say something like, well, I don't care if I spend $6,000 to get a $6,000 case, because I'll turn it into 2 referrals later. So they had better referral back-end systems. And it wasn't magic. They just, like, for example, they sent like a newsletter in the mail to anybody who had ever worked with them, and they sent it religiously every month so people didn't forget about them. So that meant they got more referrals than people who did nothing. And so what ended up happening, though, is they could spend $6,000 to get a $6,000 case. Now, the lawyer who has no back end and no referral system, can he spend $6,000 to get a $6,000 case? No. But if you spend $6,000 to get a $6,000 client and then they refer you to people, which you paid nothing for, then you'll make $12,000 later. And so you can give up all the profit on the front end, so you make it on the back end. And so that's how you want to be thinking about this. It's not how can I get my Facebook ad cost cheaper, but how can I get my back end working better? How can I get more value and keep clients longer? Because then what ends up happening is then the game becomes unfair in your advantage, because you can just outspend everybody in your market. And, like I said, if they're getting $40,000 client and you're getting 3, it's not going to be very hard for them to put you out of business. So you really, really got to think about those back-end numbers. So that's all I got for you guys this week. If you're interested in the mastermind trial, we get so much cool shit. Like I said, we're doing 4 big things. We're getting clients without the phone, just sending little 5-minute videos. We're systematizing your entire delivery so that it's managed with virtual assistants without you, meaning you can go to the beach and the important pieces are still getting managed. We're bringing on like really awesome people. We got a really awesome system for having really cool people that don't cost a lot of money, that can manage your entire operation for you, and having like a way to bring on cool team members at will. And then we're building wow experiences for the clients, so they just keep paying you a long time, and your income like really adds up. And the result is that you get happy clients who just pay a long time. So if you're interested in checking out that video, let me know, and I'll send you a video with some details on that. That's all I got for you guys this week. And and also I should mention, for those of you guys who are in crypto, we're going to be opening up a crypto hedge fund. I don't have all the details sorted yet because I'm still figuring a little bit of it out. But if you guys are interested in like multiplying some of your stuff, give us a little bit to play with, and we'll show you some results. So that's all I got for you guys in this video. And if you're not already watching the replays on YouTube, you should be. And may the force be with you.